Evening and welcome to another edition of the Monday Night Magpie Live. Smash and grab, Notts County stepped on the gas at Bristol Rovers. A great 1-0 win. We've all been eulogising both about the result, not so much the performance, but also especially the atmosphere as well, and the sheer delight at that final whistle will live in the memory for a long, long time. Your thoughts and views on Bristol Rovers? As some posters have already asked, are we over egging it a bit? We've beaten a team that had lost 7 straight on the trot. Are we over egging it ahead of a run in December that starts with MK Dons next Tuesday, of MK Dons at home, Grimsby away, Walsall at home, Chesterfield away, MK Dons away before the transfer window reopens? What are your thoughts on that? Was it a red card for Tyrese Hall? A few of you are saying it was very harsh. Others say nailed on red. And what about Scotty Robertson escaping with that second yellow in the closing minutes of the match? Big debate about goalkeepers going down with cramp and feigning of injury. FA announcing they're going to look more closely at that. I think that's probably a welcome move in everybody's eyes. And he's not on holiday. He's not even on a mini break. Mark Stallard is back with us tonight, brought to you as always in association with JH Accountants, Trent Navigation, Big Shed, and their new venue over the road, which will be hosting our event with Jim O'Brien early in the new year. More details to come on that very shortly. We'll dive into the message boards very quickly. Stel, great to have you back. Did you enjoy that as much as everybody else seemed to in the away end and back home in Nottingham on dodgy sticks and listening to BBC Radio Nottingham?
Yeah, absolutely did. Yeah, I mean, it was unbelievable. And I know you sort of mentioned about are we over egging it and what have you, but it was just the ultimate smash and grab, wasn't it? You know, backs to the wall sort of performance. Expected nothing out of the game. I hope we would get a point out of it as the game went on, but boy, did we ride our luck. Did we battle and show every ounce of scrapping and tenacity that we had. But then to go and win it in the last minute or two of the 90, that just, I think it was the incredulity of it, the fact it was so unlikely, so unforeseen. Our first effort on target in the whole game, when we're down to 10 men, played so long with 10 men. Just absolutely unbelievable. Yeah, fantastic. And fantastic to see. And you know, so we've just been speaking off camera a little bit, but just it's days like that you remember for some. They will be remembered for years to come. Not because it's a great performance or anything, you know, to do with the football that we played or anything like that. Just the manner of winning a football match. And what do we say? Professional sport is all about winning. And if you do it in dramatic circumstances like they did Saturday, then it lives long in the memories and it creates memories. And that's the reason so many, you know, it was about 1,300 Notts fans, so many Notts fans travel up and down the country to go and see. It's moments like that, unscripted, unexpected, but moments of exhilaration. And we know it, we've felt it on the other foot as well, haven't we? We've had it done to us. So when it goes your way, it's all the sweeter. And yes, it was certainly excitable and fantastic to be there.
We'll get some more thoughts from you in a moment. Let's just dive into the message boards and get a first batch. I opened the boards up at this morning. So Billy Summo was first on at 10 to 11 this morning. Great win on Saturday. Jammy, but a great win. That's an old phrase. I don't know when you're growing up still. Jammy. Yeah, I've not heard that for a while, but a good East Midlands phrase, that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Away with it. Jammy. Yeah, very good. Nigel Bosmouth. We had a good game. It was good to see the players pulling all in the same way, especially at the final whistle with the celebrations. Keep it up. Dave Badder, great to stuff Rovers like we did. There's no bitterness here that's been festering for the last 35 years. I still remember 1990. December's a huge month coming up and will go a long way to defining our season. big concerns regarding Jody and the skipper as to how long they may be unavailable. Martin Blaney, evening gents, a smash and grab win on Saturday. The performance was not great, but a great result with only 10 men for most of the match. Jurgen Pye, evening to Jurgen Halligan, fantastic back to the wall performance, was great being part of the crowd who never stopped singing, a game I will not forget. Norfolk Pie, I'd like to ask a question, and we can debate this a little bit later in the programme. The owners seem to have two priorities. One is financial sustainability, two, promotion. Do you think both are possible, and which is the owner's real priority? Richard Terry, great result Saturday. Good news, the FA lawmakers are looking into the goalkeeper tactic of going down to enable a time out. What they need to do is stop the mass coaching during the game. Notable Sean Dyche had a lot to say about this very subject at his Forest press conference post Brighton. Nick, I was there Saturday. The atmosphere was absolutely amazing. 98 minutes of constant cheering on the lads. I just missed Stell's get in when the goal went in, but I watched the highlights to hear his reaction. There you go. Adam Kent, harsh red card, battled hard, Ruse great. Let's hope for some consistency now. 3 subs combined for the goal, seeing Max Kuyar move on to 2 pre-assists for the season. You keep score of them pre-assists, Adam. Kay, afternoon all from, she rubs it in every week, Stell. Afternoon all from a gorgeous day in beautiful Barbados.
Oh, lovely.
The rum punch went down a treat Saturday. I tell you what, Kay, if I had the choice of being in Barbados with a rum punch on Saturday afternoon, sunny Barbados, or in rainy, sodden Bristol in the away end, I would have chosen the away end. There you go. Jurgen Pye, definite red card for me, got fouled and then showed frustration by lunging in. It's the Jonathan Hammock's trilogy. Good evening. Football is all about moments. You can't be late away winners. We got treated to one at Barnet and now one at Rovers. Absolutely love it. David Dawes, lesson for Hall not to dive in after being fouled. Great to see us win despite being second best on the day. Jonathan Hammocks again. I've got to say, I thought Mark's trademark getting catchphrase was up there with his very best efforts. Richard Elvian, how Robbo avoided a second yellow is beyond me. Beyond all of us, Richard. Jonathan Pot 3, unbelievable effort from the Not supporters. They alone deserve the winner in front of them. Such great scenes. Evening all from Royston. Team spirit after the goal and at full time was brilliant. Just shows they're all in it to win it. Gazali, do you think Notts fans are overreacting to beating a 7-game loss team? Feel like we've won the World Cup from the posts online. It was good while we were there, Gaz. I tell you, it was good while we were there. Oh, Jonathan's back with part 4. I think what Pato has installed to the group this season would have probably got us up last season. We pinched a lot of points without playing well. Can't wait to do MK next. Evening from Ian Hayward. Martin Shipley. Happiness is a signed copy of my book. One flew over he's put cuckoo's nest, it's magpie's nest. Heading my way with Santa. And the 3 points we picked up on Saturday. A great battling performance and such a memorable match. And if you need Santa to deliver this anywhere else, get in touch. Debbie Caton's got a copy. I've just been posting that out. So any more, 20 quid free postage. Gratuitous plug over. Ian Cooksey. What is over the top, in reply to Gaza Lee, is everyone getting so worried over the next 5 fixtures to MK Dons twice, Walsall, Grimsby and Chesterfield. They're not Arsenal, Bayern Munich and Real Madrid. Stell's mentioned this earlier in our little chat. They are beatable. Pythagorean. In all, great to witness Saturday, but Palmer is a huge miss as no one else seems to fill that give it to me role. Jonathan Hammocks again, last part. How about we push the boat out in January? And we're all getting carried away now, and get Langstaff back on loan to fire us to promotion. I live in hope. It would get the fan base going for sure. Jurgen Pye, yeah, he's less optimistic about Mr. Langstaff coming in. I suspect Peterborough might be having a dabble in that market. Evening from Stephen Newton. Never say never, says Adam Kent. He's not given up on Macaulay, bringing him back. Anyway, right, look, we're up to 7 o'clock. Stout. Everyone's used this phrase smash and grab. You are too young, but I remember Bristol Rovers in the 70s going to Eastville, see Notts play. They used to have it when strikers used to hunt in pairs, not singles, pairs. And they had Warboys and Bannister. They were quite a famous partnership. Biggin, Littler. Between them, they scored 40 goals every season. And their nickname was Smash and Grab. So I thought it was quite prophetic that everyone has described our smash and grab win at Bristol Rovers as smash and grab, given the history of their two 70s in crime strikers. All right, so put into context then. Well, and I'll tell you what, let's tidy a few loose ends up, professionals' view, as opposed to us amateurs. Can Tyrese Hall have any complaints?
He can have a slight complaint, but I must admit, and I haven't seen it back on camera. I've only seen it as we saw it at the game. But the fact that there is not a consensus that it's a definitely harsh red card, something, I just think, and he's a young lad, so he'll learn. He's inexperienced or whatever. You've got to know the situation of the game. Now, if you think about the game at that time, there'd been a couple of yellow cards, haven't they, gone before it in like the previous sort of 2 or 3 minutes. There'd been a little bit of feistiness. It was a fierce, competitive sort of game early on. And then he just gets the ball took off him, thinks he's been fouled, does he, on the corner of the penalty area, and then immediately goes off his feet and goes through the lad. And again, if you want to be lazy, stereotypical sort of punditry from me, I'd say back in my day, that's a great tackle. But we're not back in my day. I don't know if I ever had a day, but nowadays he gives the referee a decision to make. I'm not saying it is a cast iron red card from seeing it. And again, we were about 60, 70 yards away from it, but what he does do, immediately he makes that tackle, we are immediately going, oh, he's given the referee a decision here. That could be trouble. And the reaction of their players straight away, and you go, he's gone through him. If it was the other way round, if it was a Bristol man on one of our lads, you'd be wanting a red card. So he's just got done with a little bit of frustration. It looks like frustration where he's just been potentially fouled and not got the decision. So, right, I'm going to go through somebody. And by the letter of the law nowadays, you if you're reckless and endangering an opponent in a tackle out of control, it gives the referee can give you a red card quite rightly, and so he did. And I don't know. I mean, it's not going to be one. I don't imagine they'll be appealing. I don't imagine there's any sort of right to appeal for it. So, it will stand. So he'll learn from that. Hopefully, he'll learn from that. But sometimes you've just got to read the atmosphere's up. If he makes that tackle, maybe if the game's in a lull and nothing really spicy's gone off before it, maybe he just gets a yeller. But just with how the game was, the atmosphere of the crowd, he's give the referee a decision to make, and he's come down red. And I'm not, like I said, I've not seen it again, but I'm not going to castigate the official for that. I think he's again a little bit of naivety from Tyrese, but he's allowed the referee to make that decision if he sees it as a red. That there's no change in it.
Yeah, I did watch it back on the telly when I got back, and on the highlights, the mini highlights they have on Sky, and it's a bad tackle on him that's undoubtedly a foul seconds before, but the referee hasn't given that, and then he's seen a bit of red mist, and for me, I don't think there's any doubt. He's late. He's lunged. I don't think you can really have any complaints about it. We just mentioned off air before we came on. I mean, our Scotty Robertson escapes in the 96th minute or whatever it was, because if ever that's a second yellow, I should have a word with him in the team on Wednesday when I see it. I couldn't believe no way with it,
Absolutely. I mean, it's as clear a yellow as you're going to see. But again, when you talk about the situation of the game, and it's the situation of the game that actually gets him out of it scot-free, because it was deep into the stoppage time, wasn't it? Probably only a couple of minutes of the stoppage time left. A clear foul, clear late tackle. He committed himself early, had to take something, and already on a yellow card. Obviously, it would have been a second yellow, and it'd have been off, and we'd been down to 9 men for maybe a couple of minutes. But I think the situation of the game was even Bristol Rovers was that desperate to get the ball back in play, to get on with it, that it deflected completely from the tackle, and the referee didn't want to stop the game, stop their momentum, if you like, to try and get an equaliser. And I think all that put together just allowed Scotty to stay on the pitch, and we're grateful for it, because not only would it have been the couple of minutes after that, it would have been the following suspension for a game. So absolutely. Again, just riding our luck all over. Some days it is just your day, and Saturday was one of them.
This is an interesting one. And one of the best things about these podcasts is the community that we have, the flock, as I refer to them. And quite a few of the flock came up to have a chat with me on Saturday, which was great. And there's one guy come along, and he'd mentioned that his dad was kind of a big Notts fan. Not always the most positive, can be a bit cantankerous at times, as we all are when we get a bit older. And he says, but the funny thing is, he says, Paul, he posts under his wife's name, not his own. I mean, how? so he said, if anyone complains about him being negative, he can say it's the missus, not him. Senga Schmidt. Hello, this is George, a Notts supporter since 1952. I believe my son has dobbed me in. So there we go. So when you see Senga Schmidt, it's not his good lady, it's George. There you go. Well done for coming clean, George, albeit under a bit of prompting by your lad when he came over to see me on Saturday. What else have we got from the boards? Let me just get up to speed. There's lots of you on the show tonight. Over 300 as we speak, which is very good. Right. We put Langstaff to bed. I don't see it, if I'm honest with you. It'd be great to think we could, but I don't see it. John Parnham, our thespian from Nuneaton. My other Zoom call has thrown me out, so I thought I'd join you. God, that's a glowing recommendation, John. Bloody hellfire. Essie Kent. Beddoe made a great captain and certainly earned his place. Evening all, says Richard Hawksworth. Wow, what a day down in Bristol. Maggie Grant, good evening. Joe Cotty, hello Joe. A last-ditch winner can make up for an awful lot. Arrived half an hour late due to terrible trains from Dorset. If you're going to miss half hour, it was the first half hour you needed to miss. Just in time to see Hall get sent off. Missed the train home, but worth it in the end. Remy from New York. Mr. Mace, you were right about the other podcast being the wrong hour for me. That's the Sunday morning. So unless Remy gets up at 4 a.m, he can't listen to that one live. What else has he got? Hang on, he's got something to say about you in a minute, Stel. I'll come to that.
Oh dear.
Essie Kent, loudest get in ever. AD Clark, evening all, fantastic result. Dug in deep, some real spirit in this team. Good to see Scout Stellback screaming. Is he sponsored by Jet2? That's a reference to the number of holidays and short mini breaks that you have, I think, Stel. Robert Minister from Junie, down under in Australia. What a match. But I bet it felt longer than the Ruddy Ashes, the first test, didn't it? It was the ultimate backs against the wall job. I nearly fell out of my chair when Stell screamed, get in. Matt Cook, I was cooking when Stell and Adam went crazy on Radio Nottingham. There was very nearly food all over the kitchen. Evening from Ian Hayward. Paul Arnold, great result on Saturday. But before the sending off, we were awful again. since RM has returned, we seem to be playing more like we were end of last season, i.e., not creating much. Adam Kent, did you catch the Bristol manager's post-conference, anyone? He was hilarious, salty, and not ever so professional. I mean, to be fair, I mean, you think how happy we were. You think if you're a Bristol Rovers fan, or more importantly, Darryl Clark, the Bristol Rovers manager, 7 straight defeats, your lads have put a right shift in, and you lose that game to equal a club record ever worst run. Yes, I would think they must be wondering what they have to do to just to get a point, let alone a win. Alan Cotty. Great atmosphere Saturday. Afterwards, we were waiting for an Uber, and most of the players turned up on the street near us. I think their tiredness caused them to get lost on the way to their coach. Yeah, the traffic was a nightmare around that ground, isn't it? It was an absolute nightmare. Always great to beat Bristol Rovers, says Stephen Newton. I remember 1990. Evening from Mark Williams, Ireland Pie. Massive 3 points, particularly important given the tough December fixtures we have. Remy Sky, great to have you back. Lord Stell, you look more and more fit with each episode, looking good. And I want you to know, regardless of the year, I would always sign you to a deal in Football Manager. Remy, I hope you are well, all right? Rosemary Mans, evening all, looking forward to the MK game. That's Sanger Smith that I've already read out. Rosemary Mans, we should have kept McGoldrick, we owed him, even if he only played 20 games. All that experience he could have given to others would have been worth every penny. I didn't realise we're quite as high in the current form table. Only Bromley and Colchester have got more points over the last 6 games than us. And we are joint top with Colchester and MK over 10 games. I think that kind of also tells you, you know, winning games, losing games, just how close it is this season. AD Clark, Hall has been excellent this year. Just saw the red mist and will hopefully learn for it. Never seen that before when he was pushed forward for the fist pumps at the end of the game, having been sent off. James Moore agrees. Robbo was very lucky. Adam Kent, the whole incident is a carbon copy of Jatta's sending off against Wimbledon. Game should have been stopped when they were fouled. What about Bristol players surrounding the ref? Alex Young, well worth the short trip from Glasgow on Saturday. First half hour, borderline unwatchable. Second half, incredibly tense. Last 10 minutes, almost unbelievable. We'll come back to some more in a minute. Stell, all right. You're a player. You win a game like that. As we've said, the first 35 wasn't great. You'd arguably say it was poor. How much does that change your outlook as a player? You come back on the bus and you're into training this morning. I mean, what does that do for morale, outlook, vision? You know.
Yeah, brilliant for morale. I say that them sort of games, it's amazing. After them sort of games, nobody, I think even Martin Patterson was getting quite, you know, almost losing control a little bit in his post-match interview sort of thing, the celebrations with all the fans and all that afterwards. And nobody talks about stats, do they, after a win like that? Nobody comes out with the XG, which would have been horrific for the game, or nobody comes out with passing stats or this, because it's so unifying. I think is that, you know, he's so backs to the wall, so unexpected. You know, there'll be people listening and watching this who were at the game themselves. None of us honestly saw us winning that game. You know, I think we were all there hoping we were going to hold out. The closer it got, they rattled the woodwork on 3 occasions. You know, they've had chances. Keller makes a couple of really good saves. You know, they've missed a couple of decent chances. We're backs to the wall. We're at stages in that second half of kicking the ball anywhere, aren't we? Just to buy a bit of respite and get a bit of space and time. So nobody really, not even the most optimistic person, could see us winning that and taking all 3 points. So to come away with all 3 points, in the cold light of day, they might analyse it this week. Their performance, as we've said, they weren't great, were they? You know, it was a tough game, as every game is, but we weren't great. We got into some decent positions and were wasteful with our passing, 11v11. But then backs to the wall, 10 against 11. Then it is generally about keeping yourself in the game and trying to give yourself an outlet, trying to give yourself counter attacks, opportunities to just break and give yourself some respite. So to come away, do that for an hour, work your absolute whatsits off, and then grab a goal that probably sums the game up and a deflection, massive deflection to win the game. Nobody cares about that because it gives you an unbelievable sense of belief that you're never out of anything. And then this is what I would say. I think something Martin Patterson takes massive credit for. In previous seasons, we've played some really good football, haven't we? But at times accused ourselves of being a little bit nice. Well, I saw Saturday us doing some of the dark arts, as we like to call them. I call it managing the games and doing things, but getting a win when it looked the most unlikely, the most unfeasible 3 points probably ever. And that's what gives you that euphoria, that, the scenes with the fans, unbelievable, the noise. They were brilliant and back the lads as they have done, and they do every game pretty much. But it was great to witness and great to be there. It's so, like I say, just an outpouring of, just unexpected joy that even as players, for a day or two, you will be living on that. You won't be bothered about, well, we didn't pass it very well. Would you know what? We were wasteful. We didn't create out. We weren't there because everybody gave everything. Everybody that was on the pitch gave everything they had to get a result. And then they can share that with the fans. And that lifts you. Like I say, technically, yes, you can pull it to bits a little bit and go, look, with the ball, we have got to be better than that. But with that sort of spirit, with that sort of teamwork, that workman-like ethic, if you like, and yes, you forget about riding your luck about them hitting the woodwork 3 times, because that feeling, that feeling of winning in adversity like that is a really good one. It unifies you. Look, does it actually count for anything come the MK Dons game a week tomorrow? Maybe not, but it will carry them through this week and give them that belief that in the future, this season, when we're in adversity, we aren't out of it. And again, I think that's the biggest change we've had this season. We are a team full of grit and steeliness, and maybe in years gone by, a bit nice, we might have folded, in certain games. There's none of that. None of that with this bunch of players and with Martin Patterson at the helm, driving it with his coaching staff. There's a mentality there that you're never out of a game. And like I say, yes, and the people are saying, look, it's only Bristol Rovers. They'd lost 7 before that. Well, it's not only Bristol Rovers, another professional team who were desperate to win a game, who played quite well, who had all the ball, who had an extra man for an hour. So we can justifiably get carried away. The players won't get too carried away. They'll be back down to earth for next Tuesday, that's for certain. But just in the moment, you've got to enjoy them. You've got to enjoy moments like that, because otherwise, that's your release, your pressure release, if you like. Winning a game like that is so good, such a good feeling for fans. It's exactly the same for players. It is that good of a feeling. So, like I say, sometimes the technicalities and the tactics and all that go out the window. It is, as I say about sport and football, it at times is just raw emotion, and that's what we saw on Saturday.
Yeah, brilliant. One thing, I think one person, I know Martin doesn't like singling players out, but I think there's one player that will welcome your views on, Kell. Now, I think his best performance in a not shirt, man of the match. It can't have been an easy week for him. There was a lot of, leaking out about the Salford keeper, Jamie Jones, coming in for a trial. When Adam asked the questions on the Friday presser, Martin was quite transparent, said they were being proactive. They got a keeper or two in, taken a look at it. Nothing was happening with those. As a player, he will have known that. He'll have heard that. He will have seen that. So how does all that make you feel? And as a pro, how do you react to that, Stel?
Right, and again, yeah, absolutely. And I was on the radio giving him credit because we have given him stick. Rightly so. Your performance levels dictate nobody's doing what you have to remember is he's a senior player, so he's an experienced player, played at high level. You have to remember that any criticism is never personal. It's based on what people are seeing. And like I say, I've been critical, of his game. I think he's been at fault a few times. But if you're going to be critical and you're going to give opinions based on what you see, I have to give him unbelievable praise for Saturday, because on the back of that, just as he is a human being, as any player is, like I say, how does all that criticism make you feel? Well, it doesn't take a genius to work out how it makes you feel, does it? Being criticised for you trying your best, you're doing your best, you're doing absolutely everything you can, but you're getting criticised because, look, you've not been up to speed and your performances level hasn't been what he would have wanted it to be, let alone everyone else. So to then perform like that is even more credit too. So you have to give him credit. Does it mean we wipe the slate clean and everything else is forgotten about? Of course not. No, of course not. And again, you never have a fixed position on things, because every game is a chance to change people's opinion or slightly adjust your opinion based on what you see and what happens and what changes. So I was really pleased for him. I think that the save that he makes that gets the deflection, the hooked effort where the lad's back to goal, not expected, the reaction save, that one particularly was an unbelievable save in the circumstances. And coming off the back of, I'd like to say, criticism, which all footballers will get at some point in their career. You have to have that thick skin, you have to try and brush it off. But saying it and actually doing it and then going out there and performing, that is difficult. There's no two ways about it. There's no magic switch. There's no magic potion that professional footballers drink and take to become immune to criticism and not be affected by people telling you, I think you're not good enough. I think we need to sign another goalkeeper. I think we need to do this. He shouldn't be playing, what have you. But if the manager chooses you and picks you and you're in the team, you've got a chance to go and perform. And on Saturday, he performed brilliantly. His save was as valuable as Matty Dennis's goal in getting 3 points. And so if we're critical of him when we think he's done something poor or not quite played to us, as we are with every player, or we try to be fair with every player, that when he does brilliantly well, then he gets absolute praise for it. And then you go on based on Saturday, absolutely fantastic game. And let's hope he never has to work that hard again. But let's hope he's got a few more of them sort of games in him and more clean sheets. That's the bit that won us the game. The clean sheet wins us the game. When you only have one shot on target in a game, you need a clean sheet to have any chance. So yeah, credit to him. And again, as you're alluding to, and I think as everybody knows, because of the sticker he's been under and the scrutiny he's been under, then it's an even better sort of performance and even more important in them circumstances.
Okay, let's get a few more thoughts from the flock. Robbie, evening all. Buoyed by the win on Saturday, he says. Nice that the team has 2 weeks, well, 9 days to prepare for MK Dons, the most important game of the season so far for me. James Moore. Personally, I thought Hall was very unlucky, given he'd been fouled just a second before, and the ref's indecision led to him diving in and getting his second yellow. Oh, are we talking about Scott Robertson? Not sure there. Dennis is one. Raymond Haig. Dennis is the best natural striker at the club. He needs to play every week. Gazali says, great to see Chopper Hall, as in Chopper Harris, showing something from the Ian McCulloch book of quality tackles. McCulloch, the cat, would have been off every week in the modern game, wouldn't he? Andy Easom, evening chaps. Can you wish my other half, Dawn, a happy big birthday today? With some reluctance, drives the four of us all over for away games, including a 12-hour day back and forth to Bristol. Bless her. Happy birthday to Dawn Eason.
Yeah, happy birthday, Dawn.
Bale and Ball. Patterson seems to be getting players to improve. Wonder if it's a magic he's now working on ruse as well. Jurgen Pye, great to see Matty Platt back in action. Nice selection headache for the head coach. Nods to Stuart Maynard at York, says Richard Elvian. 6 wins on the bounce. Ian Hayward. Next game, very interesting. MK Dons. Aaron Naman, former Notts lad, scored for them Saturday. I hear Crowley is not the player he used to be at Notts. I think he was unlucky in the sense change of manager, and I'm not necessarily sure Danny's front and centre of Paul Warren's thoughts on the way to play at MK Dons. James Moore, Paul, Stell, the flock, one and all. Can we all just take a moment to applaud the camera guy that got swamped after Dennis's goal? I believe his tripod got broke, did it? But he said it was totally worth it. Okay. If anyone is a tripod dealer, obviously there is a cameraman in need of a new one if you can do him a discount. AD Clark, does Stell think Dennis deserves to start on his game? He's a handful. Yeah, okay, let's just pick up on that as we try and start to move things forward now to December, Stell. It's one of those conundrums. 99% of the time we only play with one striker. Matt Dennis, I mean, he's almost from just starts a goal a game, 8 goals. Okay, he got the luck with the deflection, but he's still, I'm sure you would have applauded that when he's got the ball, he's got it out of his feet, got a yard and got the shot off. Yeah, because he wasn't
absolutely
when he got the ball. Where are you then on that striking scenario? Both have got 8, but the head coach has predominantly, since that suspension at the start of the season Jatta had to serve, has predominantly started Jatta.
Yeah, look, I think a lot of it is he's a victim of circumstance. I think a little bit, Matty Dennis, in terms of he's playing at the start of the season, scoring goals. Then he gets injured coincidentally around the time Jatta becomes available again after he's serving his 5 matches and back spasm gate and all that transfer window stuff. And then he gets injured, and has to miss a game or two. But then Jatta comes in and starts scoring. So because we only play that one central striker, I think obviously that Martin Patterson doesn't think Matt Dennis can do one of the jobs in them sort of withdrawn number 10 positions, if you like, slightly withdrawn Tyrese Hall, Connor Grant position. He's preferred them, so rather than change the formation and go with two out and out strikers and play one in behind, he's kept the formation the same. And as we've said, we are top of the form table and have been for a while. We are up there. It's not like, yes, we've had 2 disappointing home results before Saturday, but it's not like things are going badly. So when you're winning games and things are going okay and you're at the top of the form table, yes, you can make a case for, well, he should be playing. He's now the leading scorer. But at the same time, that means you've got to leave somebody else out who's obviously potentially doing something well in a run of a winning team. And how often do we say, if you play in a team and you get the starting shirt, you win a game, or you play well, you keep the shirt, then we shouldn't necessarily then go, well, Matty Dennis is fit again. He's come on, he scored a penalty in one game and he's scored a deflected shot. Now, well, he's got to start, he's top scorer, because you've got to earn that. You have got to earn that. And you go by virtue of just playing one up front, are we saying that we want Jatta rested now and put Jatta on the bench? I don't know. Or are we saying we need to change the formation to play 2 up front? Or what do people prefer? Do they want him to play as one of these slightly withdrawn number 10 roles? Which, if I'm being honest, and I'm guessing, I don't think Martin thinks he perhaps works hard enough going both ways of the pitch to playing one of them 10 roles. So again, it is a question for the manager, the head coach, as to, you've got a player that's in form. It's a good problem to have players scoring goals. But then you also look at the game nowadays and how many clubs have got these finishers, as they call them, people to come off the bench and make changes. And that's something Martin mentioned early on in the season, didn't he? When he looked behind him on the bench while Jatta was suspended, first 5 games, he says, I look behind me on the bench, I've got nobody to bring on up front. No game, no number 9 who can change the game after an hour, 65 minutes, whatever. So it's nice to have that option from the bench. Of course, you want to get as many goal threats on the pitch as you possibly can. But by sometimes changing to bring in a person or personnel, you can upset the rhythm and the balance of the whole team. And like I say, I think it's more about the collective than the individual. Really strange. You won't see many times a leading scorer is not getting a start and a starting shirt. So maybe there is a conversation to go, okay, is it time to take Jatta out the starting lineup and put him on the bench and bring him on as the changer, if you like, or the finisher, whatever you want to call him. But it's a tough call. It is a tough call because it means you're having to change potentially to play Matty Dennis in the role that he's best at. You've got to change slightly the makeup of the team. And do you want to do that when things have been going okay?
There is, of course, a spare role now because Tyrese will be out for 3 games.
Yeah, and that's what we were saying before the game, weren't we? I think that might allow this now because, yeah, depending on Tyrese Hall's ban, we assume it's going to be a 3-game ban, but he's obviously going to miss games, so there's going to be a spare position there. Now, somebody like Jaden Luca, who's played that position, he's not available. We don't think at the minute. Mike Traore got a place on the bench on Saturday. He's sort of been out the cold, so I don't think he really fancies him to play there potentially. Will Jarvis, I don't know. He wasn't in the 18. I don't know if he's one of these ones that's been come down with. They said they've had
Yeah.
colds and flu and what have you within the building this last week. So I don't know if he was suffering with that. He's a potential that could play there. But you would maybe expect that if you are now looking at a way to get both Dennis and Jatta into your starting lineup, with Tyrese Hall missing, suspended, then this is probably the way. Now, whether he does it as, again, them 2 10s with Jatta up front, or do you go 2 up top to try and just do something unexpected against MK, do something different. So we will wait and see. But I suspect with Tyrese Hall suspended, then we might see Dennis and Jatta both starting.
Flat back 4, I prophetically asked the question over the weekend, what would it take for us to play a flat back 4? Clearly, it's getting a player sent off in the first half. We played a flat back 4 second half. I think we had this conversation a little bit before the start of the show. I mean, you don't see any way we don't not continue to play with 11 men, 3 at the back.
I think it could happen, but I think Saturday's was obviously exceptional circumstances, wasn't it? Changing to a back 4. We'd virtually all but given hope of going forward, given up hope of going forward, hadn't we? Went with the way we were doing it, 2 banks of 4. I think we've got the players to do it. I wouldn't say we've not got the players to do it. I just think, like I say, you can say about a back.
So that's you saying, as the professional, we've got the players to do it. Yeah. Question, why do you think we don't do it? Because in 6 years, we've probably played a flat back 4 about twice.
Because I genuinely think if you play a flat back 4, you've got to have a central defensive partnership that work together, that going in that complement each other. A lot of teams like to defend fairly high these days, and so that involves having pace as well, or mobility, not necessarily pace, but mobility, as well as aerial threat and all that sort of stuff. You've got to have a central defensive partnership that can cope, basically, as a 2. Now, you play as a 3. It's always about round pegs in round holes and what suits the most players. Probably in every team, there's a bit of a compromise somewhere. Some individual player is not playing in their absolute preferred position, so whoever that might be, you might go, do you know what? I think we've got good wing backs, but we haven't got good actual full backs, and we haven't got out and out wingers, maybe. So that might be a reason to not play a 4, but like I say, you've got to find, for me, the main bit is finding that central defensive partnership, preferably a right footer and a left footer as well. Because if you want your distribution to be right, you've got to, or you'd preferably like a right footed centre half and a left footed centre half. And again, we just haven't seen that. I couldn't tell you who would be a good central defensive 2 because we haven't seen it, have we? Like, as you say, we haven't seen it on many occasions at all. But there's no doubt the players could do it. They took to it well enough defensively at the weekend. But again, you've then got to, in a normal game with 11v11, you've then got to have the other side of the game as well. And I think when you've got certain players like a Jody Jones, who's I know is not available at the minute, but we've had him, for a large part as being a key player. It's trying to go get your main players into position, and in a position that we know Jody's not a defensive You know, he's not a left back, absolutely. Would he be better as a left midfielder? Probably, you know, when he's fit. But again, it's how you fit all the other jigsaw pieces alongside it. Who do you play in midfield? Because then you haven't really got your number 10s. Do you play a 4-5-1 potentially? And you still only got one up front. So then you're back to the Dennis and Jatta argument, if you like. Do they both start? How do you get them both in if you play four at the back? You know, so it's not just as simple as saying, can we play four at the back? Yeah, absolutely fine. I think we could. But it's then what do you do with the rest of the team? You can't go, well, four at the back and, oh, we'll sort the rest out. You've then got to go, okay, if we play a back four, we can't play Jatta and Dennis because where do you play them? You know, or you might play Dennis as a 10 in behind Jatta, or you might play them both up front. You might go 4-4-2, but then you're missing out a body in midfield. And who's going to drop in and fill in? Is Dennis, you know, are they able to drop in and fill in? So it's more nuanced than just, yeah, we can play a back, absolutely. Could we, you know, do you play Jacob Beddoe as a left back, which he did, you know, after some changes, didn't he, on Saturday? But you go, well, he's done such a good job as a left-sided centre half, you know, in a three-way, he does his overlapping runs and things like that. So he could do the left back job, but you think, is that a bit of a waste having him as a left back when you've got 11, you know? So like I say, it's a debatable point, and absolutely everyone can debate it. The problem is there's no data to back it up whether we could play a four or not, because there's no games where it's actually happened. We can speculate about it, but like I say, Martin sees them day in, day out, sees the players' individual strengths and skills. And as you said, it's been years as well. We've played a back three. So other managers have seen all the players that they've had at the time and gone with a back three as the preferred lineup to get the best out of the team. Now, either we're seeing something different, and I'm not saying I am, but I would say we're seeing something different if we think it should be a back four, or we have to go, yeah, he probably knows them better and thinks that is the best way of getting everybody into a team that gets the best Notts County on the pitch.
Excellent. Right. We'll dive next into the December run of fixtures, starting with MK Dons. A few more thoughts from the flock. What else have we got? James Moore. I don't think Alessandro would have scored Dennis's goal on Saturday, as his ball control can let him down sometimes. Dennis did great to bring it down and get the shot off under pressure from two defenders. Rosemary Mans is a Dennis in kind of girl. James Moore, I think a 3-game ban for Hall is harsh. I wonder if Notts will appeal. I think it would be deemed a violent, reckless challenge, for which that carries, I think, 3, James. So it's not necessarily one of them that there's a lot of wriggle room, unless of course you're Cristiano Ronaldo, in which case you just get it lifted with Donald Trump having a word with Gianni Infantino or whatever, and citing previous record in previous 200 internationals. But anyway, there's always an exception to a rule, isn't there? Could AJ play as a 10, says Robert Hall. He has the work rate. Andy Eason, haven't seen all the weekend's EFL away followings, but I would think we're near the top of the list for up to all 3 divisions, with near 1,300 considering the distance to and from Bristol. Richard Elvin doesn't see AJ as a 10. Pythagorean, our defensive recruitment is geared to 3 at the back. AED Clark, whatever's happening with Mia Traore, he's always on the training videos laughing and smiling. Is he just not good enough, or is there something else going on? Not settled. Who knows? Any info on Matty Palmer, says Essie Kent. I think all we can say, Essie, the club have kind of confirmed he's out for in I think Martin's words, for a period. I take that as months rather than weeks. I'm not sure we will be seeing him any time soon. Right, that's got us up to speed with all the messages. December style. As we said, MK Dons next Tuesday. Don't forget, we haven't got a game this Saturday. We got knocked out of the FA Cup. We won't forget that. Grimsby then away, Walsall at home, Chesterfield away, MK Dons away. I think, as one poster's mentioned, they're not Real Madrid, Barcelona. How daunting a set of fixtures do you think this is for us, Stell? Are we really getting a bit too carried away? This is League Two. No one team has ripped this division up at all this year.
Yeah, absolutely that. Absolutely that. You can say on paper it looks harder, can't you? Looks harder, but I mean, I don't think that really means much. Every one of them teams has lost at least 4 games. I think Grimsby have lost 6 now. We've lost 5. Everybody in League Two on the day can beat anybody on the day. If levels aren't there, like I said, we've lost to Brackley already this season in the cup, haven't we? So, anybody can beat anybody. So again, yes, you would say on paper tougher because some of these clubs have got bigger budgets, therefore allegedly better players. But what can also happen is that some of these clubs, and I'm thinking MK probably front and centre, they've got the biggest budget, they've got the biggest probably expectation on them this season.
Yeah.
So again, there'll be expectation on them to maybe come out and play and make the run in and be ahead. But as you say, nobody. This table again, the league is wide open because it is League Two, where players make mistakes, where teams are fallible, and there's no real out and out consistency. We're 18, not far away from halfway point of the season, and the Grimsby have lost a couple of games, and all of a sudden they're in mid-table. Whereas it was looking like we were going to be playing sort of, well, 4. I know we've got MK Dons twice, so 4 different teams were occupying the top 7 spaces. Well, it's not the case now. Chesterfield have fell away a little bit. Grimsby have fell away a little bit. MK Dons have maybe come with a bit of a run, come with some of the results you'd maybe have expected from them. But by no means are they blowing any teams away. This season, as I say, they've all lost at least 4, as we have. And we know the sort of spectrum from really good to really bang average, how we've been in terms of performance levels this season. You've got to expect that these other clubs and other teams are exactly the same in terms of inconsistency from one game to the next. So absolutely, you respect every team. And that's what I say, you can't underestimate Bristol Rovers and go, well, they lost 7 on the spin. Yes, of course, it's a good time to play a team when they've lost 7 on the spin because they won't have confidence. But that won't help you in the 90 minutes that you play them, especially if you get a man sent off. So we're not going to advocate doing that in the next 5 games because we would struggle. But these are not infallible teams. These are League Two teams who will be full of fit, good League Two players who will be trying to stop us from playing and hurt us, just like we'll be doing to the opposition. Every week, you've got a set of professional players trying to beat you, and by hook or by crook, we seem to win more games than we lose at the minute and this season. So there is absolutely no reason we can't do it against these teams. Like I say, the teams at the top, we've played Swindon, haven't we? We've played Bromley. I think we've drawn with both of them, haven't we? Is that right? So look, they aren't Bayern Munich and Real Madrid and all them sort of teams. They're League Two games. They are tough League Two games. Make no mistake about it. But every game is tough because of the nature of professional sport. Nobody gives you anything for nothing. You have to go and earn it.
Historically, still, since I returned to the EFL, we have not had a good record against top 7, top 8 teams, and that phrase from a cricketing parlance, flat track bullies, has been bandied around. So far this season against the better teams, there's been some good performances. By and large, they've been draws. I can't think of too many teams we've actually beaten in the top 4 or 5.
Cambridge are the 6 we've beat.
Yeah.
And Salford we've lost to, and then we've drawn the other 2.
Who aren't a top 6 team, but look a decent set of players when they played us. Is the jury still out, or how much do we have to improve our record against these other teams likely to be in and around us? And there does appear in the month of December to be a high concentration of those types of teams that we're playing.
Yeah, look, you always want to improve that. We've said before, it's a bit of a monkey on our back, isn't it? That we don't generally have good results against the top 7 teams. Inevitably, top 7 teams are better, because they've got more points than the others. That's why they're top 7. But at the end of the league, at the end of the season, 46 games, it doesn't matter who you've lost to, as long as you've won enough points to get in the automatics or the playoffs. You know, it doesn't. Nobody counts up and goes, "Well, you've lost to the top 7." But if you win all the other games, there's enough points there to get promoted. So of course we want to win. Of course we want to win more games, no matter who it's against. But you know, yeah, as long as we get to where we want to get to, none of us are that bothered. We're not that picky. But of course, you want to win games, and when you're challenged against better teams or supposed better teams on paper, then you can also up your levels as well. You know, it's amazing what can happen. So, look, it's a tougher month on paper. There's no two ways about it. But again, none of the games will be played on paper. They'll all be on grass. So again, it's all about how we perform. All about how we perform, and a little bit, as we saw on Saturday, about riding your luck. So that can, you know, I'm sure Darryl Clark, and I did hear his post-match interview where he must have mentioned putting the ball in the back of the net about 28 times, I think. But yeah, he kept saying the same phrase. But you can sort of feel for him losing 7 on the spin and then playing like that Saturday and still getting beat. You go, well, what else can you do? Because they played all right. They hit the woodwork 3 times and still ended up with no points at the end of the game. We've had it done to us, so we know exactly how it feels. But it is about maybe, you know, battling it out. I say you met your own luck. I do think that you met your own luck. And if they don't take chances, that is their problem. But in these games, we've got to take our chances when they come. We've got to create these chances and take our chances. We've got to play better than we probably did Saturday, because you can't rely on that week in, week out. But again, we're not going to build these teams up to think they're untouchable or anything we shouldn't be in competition with. Let them fear us. Let them worry about what we're going to do. Let them think, you know, worry about how they come to Meadow Lane and stop us. You know, so that's the bit you've got to. But if you play well, that dictates it in the game. By going out there and performing, playing well, then teams worry about you rather than letting them dictate the tempo of a game.
James Moore says, massive games coming up. We really have a chance to consolidate in the top 3 if we can put one over on the majority of our promotion rivals. I think the facts are that if we beat MK next Tuesday, then we would then definitely go 3rd, whatever happens. Only one game this weekend, I think, Colchester Gillingham. Richard Elvian, it's a make or break month. Ian Cooksey, I could understand this if we were in Newport's position, but for the life of me, I can't understand this. Question from Harvey E. I'm really interested. Stell, you have a strong Derby background, but you are clearly a passionate Notts follower. Did your experience playing for Notts eclipse all loyalty to Derby? And I'm sure that's not the case, because your dad, it was very much your dad's
Yeah.
wasn't it? And he used to take you, the young boy.
Yeah, he's 87. He won't be watching this or listening to it, so it's fine. No, I've said it before. You know, yeah, absolutely. The relationship of playing with it, it's different. The best way. I mean, I've not got all the words in the world, but the best way I can describe it is Derby are my family. I was brought up and took to my first game at Derby at the baseball ground. I was probably about 6, 7, something like that. And so I was from Derby. They were my team as a kid growing up. Went on to play for them from school. But then I had the best years of my career at Notts. We went through all the administration bit and all that, and had a great relationship with the fans. Loved my time there. Best 5 years of my career. And I always say that's like meeting my wife. You know, that is like, one's your family, you're born into it. The wife you can choose, and I've chose Notts, and because of that. So and because obviously everything since. So the club is, yeah, I obviously definitely more Notts now than Derby, but it doesn't mean I'm anti-Derby at all. So, you know, I am one of them people that can sort of hang his hat on a couple of clubs, but that's how I describe it, as best as I can describe it. Absolutely want to see Notts win and get up the leagues and win every week, and it's yeah, that's what excites me at the minute.
Good question, Harvey. That's a good answer you've gotten there. James Moore, credit to Martin Patterson. He's instilled a never say die attitude in us, which we lacked in previous seasons. This could be what gets us over the top 3 finishing line at the end of the season. Ian Cooksey, don't forget, we've got some tough fixtures in January as well. Ian Hayward, 9 points in December, and I will be happy. Derek Flowers is Derek is a half-empty man. If we play like we have in the last 3 games for the December games, we won't get many points at all. Well said, Stell, says Richard Elvian. Great answer, Stell, says Rosemary. Ian Cooksey. I used to work with a scout by the name of John Mann. He used to wax lyrical about Stell. There we go. MK Dons, Stell. Look, we all know they've got the biggest budget. They spend big money. Good manager. Got promotions. Have you been surprised on the face of it that they've not done better so far? Because by and large, they've just been in a pack, a group of clubs, haven't they? When I would have imagined, well, we're not halfway, are we? But I would imagine the owners would, there's only one thing they would be expecting this season, and one thing only.
Yeah, absolutely. I say surprised, not really. It's not as simple. Bearing in mind as well where they finished last season. They had a big budget last season. Bigger than
Yeah,
Notts. They had a big
yeah,
budget last
the
season.
Williams start, 3
Again,
managers. Yeah.
yeah. So did they finish 18th last season, or 20th, something like that? I can't remember exactly where they finished last season, but it was down the bottom half. And that's with a big budget. So yes, I say they've got a manager with a track record in of promotions, haven't they, Paul Warne? And the budget's probably been upped again this season. So they've got good players. There's no two ways about it. But you can buy good players, and as we were saying about Notts, it doesn't necessarily make you a good team. It's all about the collective. It's how they fit in with what's already there. Players that are already there that are fighting for places. You can have a big bloated squad as well with a big budget, and that can have players that aren't happy and maybe just upset the dressing room a little bit. So to harmonise all that is not easy. It takes a good manager. Where managers earn their corn, isn't it, for things like that? So yes, money makes things easier because it allows you to bring in players that you maybe couldn't afford at different clubs, but doesn't necessarily mean when you get them onto the pitch, it works. Carlisle got relegated with a massive budget last season, didn't they?
Yeah.
MK Dons finished in the bottom half with a big budget last season. So budget alone doesn't bring you success. So I'm not totally surprised that they're not running away with it. Like I say, again, this is League Two. So yes, you're bringing in good players who played higher levels, but you're not bringing in players that are just going to walk the division. So again, I think last season as well, they had a bit of a leaky defence, didn't they? They didn't stop many goals. So, and they conceded the same amount as Notts this season. Yes, they are the highest scorers in the division, but only by a few goals. So it's not like they're head and shoulders above anyone else. They are what I would say a good League Two team who've got a good chance of promotion, but so have Notts. And so have probably about a dozen other teams at this minute think they've got a genuine, credible shout for automatics and playoff positions. So they'll be strong. They'll be a decent team. They'll have good individual players. But like every team at this level, they'll have weaknesses and they'll have areas where they're not so strong. So that's what Notts have got to try and exploit. And we know they can do that.
I think that about wraps it up for tonight. Excellent show. Some great questions, lots of participation, some great answers from Stell as well. No game this weekend. Are you having a weekend breakaway as there's no football, Stell, or not?
No, I don't know what I'm going to do this weekend. I always thinking when we have the odd occasional weekend off, I have a Saturday off and realise this is obviously I've been playing football on Saturdays all my life since I've been a young lad. So then you get Saturdays off and you sort of think, well, I'm not really missing much, am I really? I can't wait for football to be back. You don't end up doing too much. So no, I'm not away. That is me for 2025 going away and all that sort of stuff. I'm sure it's getting overblown the amount of holidays I have, but that is me done until the new year. So yeah, I don't know what I'll be doing this Saturday. No doubt the missus will have plans for me.
Absolutely. And then we've got the big one. You'll be there Tuesday night with Adam?
Absolutely, yeah. So it is a big month. Like as much as we can play it down, but it is going to be a big month, a telling month. And at this stage of the season, coming up to Christmas as well, you want to be informed, like we did last season. Didn't we hit form at Christmas, so it'd be nice if we could have a good December, wouldn't it, and put us in position coming into the new year.
Indeed. Adam Kent asks, is the over the road the building with the mural on opposite the navigation? Indeed it is, all being specced out. We'll have some details for you towards the end of the week on the Jim O'Brien night, exact date. Thank you to our official partners, JH Accountants, the Big Shed, the Trent Navigation, and of course Over the Road. Good show, enjoyed that tonight. It was a great weekend all round. We'll be back next Monday. We'll look ahead directly to the MK Dons fixture, but no football this weekend. Enjoy FA Cup, enjoy watching Brackley on the telly against Burton. Never mind. But thank you one and all for tonight. We'll see you next Monday. Cheers for now.
Cheers, everybody.